Help! Someone save me! The heart-wrenching cries echoed through the valley as 8-year-old Tommy clung desperately to a precarious tree root on the rocky wall, with a 100-meter abyss beneath him. In the blizzard, his small hands had gone numb from the cold, and not far away, 4 pairs of glowing green eyes were approaching. Could this boy survive and walk out of this deadly place? Just when everyone had lost hope, an unexpected figure appeared, a stray dog abandoned by humans. Its choice left the entire rescue team speechless. 72 hours earlier, Tommy was a lively and cheerful scout leader. At this moment, however, he was alone and trapped in the most dangerous Death Canyon of the Rocky Mountains. With temperatures plunging to -20 degrees, a once-in-50-years blizzard approaching, and a nearby wolf pack, no one believed an 8-year-old child could survive the night in such extreme conditions. "I'm sorry, but we have to suspend the rescue operation in these weather conditions," said the rescue team leader, causing Tommy's mother, Linda, to collapse to the ground. As a single mother, she hadn't slept for 36 hours. But at that moment, Sarah from the shelter made a crazy decision. She looked at the scarred German shepherd, Lucky. 3 weeks ago, this stray dog had been on the brink of death on the streets, surviving on scraps from a garbage pile. No one expected that on this desperate night, a boy with nowhere to turn and a dog abandoned by the world would create a miracle. "Lucky, maybe this is our mission from above," Sarah whispered as she gazed at the raging winds and snow outside. For the first time, there was a different light in Lucky's eyes. On the distant mountaintop, Tommy's fingers were beginning to lose feeling, and the wolf pack was tightening its encirclement. At this critical moment, a deep bark shattered the silence of the Death Canyon. The blizzard intensified as Sarah and Lucky struggled to navigate the mountain road in the rescue vehicle. The snowflakes illuminated by the headlights came at them like dense white arrows. The heat inside the vehicle was turned up to maximum, but it still couldn't fend off the bone-chilling cold. "This damn weather, even the most experienced guides wouldn't dare to go up the mountain," Mike, the driver, said, gripping the steering wheel with a serious expression. As a seasoned rescue team member, he knew how dangerous it was to conduct a rescue in such extreme weather. "The temperature is still dropping, and if we don't find that child..." He didn't finish his sentence, but everyone in the vehicle understood what it meant. Lucky, however, was unusually calm. It stared intently out the window into the darkness, its nose twitching. Suddenly, it jumped up and barked urgently, scratching at the window with its front paws. "Stop!" Sarah shouted. She was very familiar with Lucky's reaction. It was a signal that it had found a target. 3 weeks of living together had made her aware of every subtle movement of this stray dog. Before the vehicle had completely stopped, Lucky jumped out of the window. Its figure quickly vanished into the swirling snow, leaving behind a trail of deep paw prints. Sarah and Mike didn't have time to think and immediately followed. The biting cold wind cut like a knife against their faces, with visibility reduced to less than 3 meters. "Lucky! Lucky!" Sarah's shouts were immediately swallowed by the wind. She struggled through the knee-deep snow, each step feeling like a battle against the world. Meanwhile, at the edge of the cliff, Tommy was on the verge of collapse. His right hand clung tightly to the precarious tree root, while his left hand and feet searched for any possible foothold. But the icy rock wall was as smooth as a mirror, offering no grip. His fingers had completely lost feeling, he couldn't even feel pain anymore. Worse still, the hungry wolves had found a way to approach him. The lead gray wolf bared its sharp teeth and let out a low growl, cautiously moving over the rocky terrain. The other 6 wolves followed closely behind, their eyes glimmering with an eerie green light in the darkness. "Please, someone save me!" Tommy could no longer shout, tears freezing on his cheeks. He knew he might not survive the night. Just at that critical moment, a lithe figure suddenly burst forth from the side of the slope. It was a large German shepherd. Without hesitation, it positioned itself between Tommy and the wolves, growling threateningly. Despite being covered in wounds, Lucky's eyes sparkled with unwavering determination. The wolves clearly did not expect such an opponent to appear suddenly. They hesitated for a moment but quickly began to regroup for an attack. The 7 wolves spread out in a fan shape, slowly closing in on Lucky. Their tactics were clear: surround first, then look for a breakthrough. Lucky stood its ground, every hair on its body bristling, muscles tense, ready to respond to any assault. Behind it, Tommy felt a glimmer of hope. But his fingers were starting to tremble uncontrollably, and the tree root made an ominous cracking sound. "No!" Tommy cried out in fear. Lucky suddenly turned its head, and upon seeing the boy's precarious situation, it made an unexpected decision. It turned its back on the wolf pack and began cautiously moving toward Tommy. This was a deadly gamble. By turning its back on the wolves, Lucky would lose its basic defensive capabilities. But it seemed to have no time for such concerns. At that moment, the lead gray wolf seized the opportunity and lunged at Lucky's back. When Sarah and Mike finally caught up, they were stunned by the scene before them. Lucky was fighting valiantly against the wolves at the edge of the cliff, defending the path to Tommy. Its hind legs were already injured and bleeding, staining the pure white snow, but it continued to protect the way to Tommy, who was struggling just a few feet away, his grip on the tree root threatening to give way. "Oh my God!" Sarah covered her mouth, her heart nearly leaping out of her chest. Mike had already pulled out a flare gun, but in such a blizzard, there was little they could do. Mike's flare gun shot a red arc into the storm, but the faint light was quickly swallowed by the swirling snow. They knew that even if reinforcements arrived, it would take at least 30 minutes. And now, every second was a matter of life and death. Lucky was injured all over, but its gaze remained sharp. In its struggle with the wolves, it had managed to injure 2 of them, driving back the first wave of attack. But the remaining 5 wolves became more cautious and dangerous. They no longer rushed in recklessly but slowly tightened their encirclement. "Hold on, Tommy!" Sarah shouted loudly while quickly rummaging through her backpack for ropes and other rescue equipment. But the blizzard was too strong, her voice barely carried a few meters. At that moment, the tree root in Tommy's hand snapped with a sharp crack. "No!" Everyone's heart leaped to their throats. In a critical moment, Lucky made a move that took everyone by surprise. It suddenly turned and dashed toward Tommy, grabbing the boy's collar with its teeth. This action gave the wolves an opening, and the largest gray wolf immediately lunged at Lucky's back. Bang! Mike fired just in time, the bullet grazing the gray wolf's ear. Although the shot missed its target, it successfully startled the wolves, buying Lucky a few precious seconds. Lucky held on to Tommy's collar tightly, beginning to drag him backward. Each step was excruciatingly difficult, with blood seeping from its hind leg wounds, leaving a vivid red trail in the snow. But it persevered, pulling Tommy away from the edge of the cliff step by step. "Quick! Sarah!" Mike shouted as he rushed forward, using his flashlight to fend off the prowling wolves. Sarah immediately understood his intention, quickly deploying the rescue rope and securing the safety buckle. But the wolf pack did not give up. They seemed to realize their prey was about to escape and launched a final desperate attack. 2 wolves lunged at Lucky from different directions, their sharp fangs aimed at its throat. Lucky, however, seemed to anticipate this. It quickly flung Tommy toward safety and charged at the wolves. The 3 beasts became entangled in an instant, blood splattering across the snow. "Lucky! No!" Sarah screamed at the top of her lungs, but it was too late. At that critical moment, the distant sound of a helicopter suddenly roared. The spotlight pierced through the blizzard, illuminating the entire canyon. The wolves were startled by the sudden light and noise, scattering in all directions. But Lucky had collapsed in a pool of blood. "Quick! Medical kit!" Mike shouted while checking Tommy's condition, calling out to Sarah. Fortunately, Tommy only had mild frostbite and abrasions and was not in life-threatening danger. But Lucky's condition was dire. It had 3 deep wounds on its hind legs, exposing bone, and its abdomen bore a long gash from a wolf's claw. Blood continuously flowed from the wounds, staining the surrounding snow red. Yet even in this state, its eyes remained fixed on Tommy, seemingly confirming the boy's safety. "Hold on, Lucky, hold on." Sarah trembled as she bandaged Lucky's wounds, tears brimming in her eyes. This stray dog, once abandoned by humans, had now saved a stranger's life with its own. The helicopter quickly landed in a nearby clearing. The medical team immediately began emergency treatment, but Lucky's vital signs were rapidly declining. With excessive blood loss, low body temperature, and old injuries, no one dared to guarantee it would pull through. "Please, don't die." Tommy, now wrapped in a thermal blanket, cried, "You're the bravest dog, and we haven't even had a chance to become friends." Sarah tightly grasped Lucky's paw, feeling its weakening pulse. At the moment it was being loaded onto the helicopter, Lucky finally succumbed and closed its eyes. "No. Lucky." Sarah's cries were drowned out by the roar of the rotor blades. The helicopter slowly ascended, disappearing into the stormy night sky, leaving behind a blood-stained snowfield that witnessed this thrilling life-and-death rescue. The helicopter navigated through the blizzard, and the atmosphere inside the cabin was suffocatingly tense. Medical personnel were urgently administering blood transfusions and treating Lucky's wounds, while Sarah held its paw tightly, fearing that if she let go, this life would slip away forever. "Its temperature is still dropping," a nurse said softly. The numbers on the monitor were flashing, accompanied by disturbing alarms. Tears silently streamed down Sarah's face. 3 weeks ago, when she first encountered this battered stray dog in the garbage dump, she could never have imagined it would come to this. At that time, Lucky was covered in wounds, but its gaze was stubborn and heartbreaking. It could have chosen to continue wandering but chose to trust her and come home with her. "You know, Lucky," Sarah whispered, "you're not an ordinary dog, you're a hero. You've given all of us an important lesson: not all abandoned lives are destined for tragedy. With love and trust, they can shine with incredible brilliance." Tommy curled up on the stretcher, staring at Lucky without blinking. This 12-year-old boy had only wanted to take some snow photos before the blizzard hit, but he nearly perished at the cliff's edge. If it weren't for Lucky, he might never return home. "Sarah, sister," Tommy suddenly said, "if Lucky survives, I want to adopt it. My backyard is big, and there are lots of toys." His voice choked with emotion. Sarah gave a bittersweet smile. She knew that if Lucky could pull through, it would change many lives forever. This was not just a story about a rescue dog, it was a legend about rebirth, trust, and selfless love. Suddenly, the monitor emitted a sharp alarm. Heartbeat stopped, the nurse shouted. The medical team immediately began CPR. Sarah was pushed aside, watching helplessly as the doctors fought to save Lucky. 1, 2, 3, 4. The rhythm of chest compressions echoed in the cabin. "Don't give up, Lucky, please." Sarah murmured, "There are so many people waiting to love you." Time seemed to freeze. 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. The monitor still displayed a flat line. Just when everyone was about to lose hope, a miracle happened. "We have a heartbeat," the nurse exclaimed excitedly. A weak but steady heartbeat returned, like a beam of light in the darkness. 3 months later, on a sunny Sunday morning, Sarah stood in the backyard, watching Lucky play on the grass with Tommy. Its wounds had healed, and although it still limped slightly, it didn't affect its joy. Tommy visited every weekend, and the two souls that had once met on the brink of death had now forged the purest friendship. Even more gratifying was that Lucky's story had gone viral on social media. More and more people began to pay attention to stray animals, and the local shelter's adoption rates soared. People finally understood that every life deserves love and has the potential to become a light in someone else's life. "Hey, Lucky!" Sarah called. Lucky immediately looked up, its brown eyes still so bright. It happily ran over, licking Sarah's hand with its warm tongue. In that moment, Sarah finally understood, sometimes, the greatest love comes from the most unexpected places. And Lucky, this once stray dog, with its courage and loyalty, not only saved a child's life but also rescued countless lost souls. This is the legend of Lucky, an eternal story of rebirth, courage, and selfless love. If it were you, would you adopt a scarred stray dog like Sarah did? Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with more people. Perhaps your share will help another Lucky find its home.